Shuichi with a smile.
Shui, you seem pretty distracted.
I teased, holding his cheek so he looked at me. He looked me in the eyes and blushed before he averted his gaze.
Sorry, I didn't mean to lose focus.
He said quietly as I moved to hold his hand. He intertwined his fingers in my own before he mumbled another apology.
ShuShu, you don't have to worry about that,
I said with a smirk before I pulled his hand towards the school building. He flinched at the motion, but soon moved after me. After a moment, we both made it to the school building. It was almost daunting having to look at it. The giant building in the distance reminded me of the work we missed from not being there. I sighed and leaned against Shuichi's arm.
Do we have to go back to school?
I asked in a semi-whiny tone. I heard him chuckle under his breath as his hand moved from mine to rest on my waist. I smiled at this, but didn't let my face show it.
Yes, we need to be able to graduate,
he said, giving my head a pat. I groaned a bit and leaned against him more.
All right, if that's what you want, my beloved.
I teased again, smirking a bit. He smiled and moved to face me.
You should want to graduate as well, Kichi.
He sighed, taking his hand away.
Because after that, you'll be able to have it done and never have to do it again,
he said while he looked down at his hand. I looked down as well and saw his hand was put out in front of him, palm facing up.
I guess,
I said, placing my free hand in his. I held his hand, making him look over at me.
You should want to, Cookie,
he said with a pause, looking over to the front gates. The overarching symbol of the school was over the gates that were already open for students to come into school. The iron gates were swung out to the sides as we walked into the schoolyard. There was nice green grass with a nice flower bed around the stone-lined path. The stones were a nice white-gray color that went well with the whole design of the school.
Well, let's go to first period then,
Shuichi said before he pushed open the front door for me to walk through.
What a gentleman,
I said with a smile. Before I saw Rantaro out of the corner of my eye, I looked over to him before he walked over to me and Shuichi. He held his hand out to Shuichi, forcing him to stop walking.
Rantaro, I haven't seen you in weeks,
I asked, looking up at him. He chuckled a bit before moving his hand to the back of his neck.
Yeah, I've been busy, but same to you. Who is this, Kokichi?
He asked, teasing me a bit. I felt my cheeks flush because that's always what happens whenever Rantaro teases me. Honestly, I wanted to interrogate him about how he hasn't been around since forever. But Shuichi was here and I didn't want to make him feel uncomfortable if me and Rantaro started playfully arguing. It can be kind of hard to tell if we are fake arguing or actually arguing.
This is my beloved boy,
I started before Shuichi cut me off. He had taken Rantaro's hand and shook it before speaking.
I'm Kokichi's boyfriend, Shuichi Saihara. Nice to meet you.
He said politely. It made me blush whenever he is so polite, but I tried my hardest to calm down.
Nice to meet you as well. You seem very formal?
He asked, making Shuichi tilt his head slightly before he blushed and moved his hand away from my waist to cover his blush. Rantaro smiled a bit at this, seeming to be intrigued by his reaction.
Yes, sorry if that's weird,
he said quietly before he looked to the side. I cupped his cheek before pulling him down for a kiss. His eyes widened as mine closed for a small moment before I pulled away.
No, it's not. It's just interesting to me,
Rantaro said with the same smile. I glared at him a bit. He moved his arms up in defense before he backed away from both of us.
Well, I wish the two of you the best of luck, and I should thank you for being so kind to date Kokichi,
he said with a wink, making me groan. Oh, Rantaro, you never change.
What an ass,
I whispered to myself, making Shuichi look down at me.
So that was...
I cut him off before he could finish his statement.
That is Rantaro Amami. He's one of the ultimates here. He's the ultimate adventurer,
I said before grabbing his hand and leading him to first period. Our first period. Another day at school. What a damn fucking party! I groaned to myself as I heard the other students talking to one another. I don't want to be here. All these students are here interrupting me and Shuichi's time together. Maybe that's super possessive of me to say. Why am I feeling so mad all of a sudden? What the hell?
Hey, are you doing alright?
Shuichi asked, putting a hand on my arm. I blushed a bit before I just moved to my seat after muttering, "Yeah," to him. He moved to his own seat with a frown before the bell rang, officially starting the class period. I just pulled out the notebook that Shuichi and I wrote in the first time we met. I read over the old notes that were written in the notebook, and they all made me smile. I was so focused on the notebook that I didn't notice the teacher had come over to my side before I felt a hand on my shoulder.
Ah, your father's here.
She said, making me feel confused.
My father is here? For me?